name is Eliza Mitchell. I died on a Tuesday. At least, that's what everyone thought, including the man I loved more than life itself. They say that some love stories are written in the stars. Mine was written in scars, invisible ones that marked my soul, invisible ones that mapped the journey back to him. The doctors called it a miracle when I woke up. 2 years in a coma will make anyone's return seem divine, but coming back to a world where everyone has moved on without you, that's not a miracle. That's a nightmare dressed as a second chance. Boston in autumn was always my favorite, the way the leaves turned golden against the brick buildings of Beacon Hill, how the Charles River reflected the changing sky. I remember loving all of it before everything changed. The accident happened on Commonwealth Avenue, a delivery truck, a rainstorm, and me, distracted by a text from Noah, my fiancé, my everything. The message was simple: can't wait to marry you next month. I never replied. The impact sent my car spinning across 3 lanes, metal crushing, glass shattering. Then, nothing. Darkness so complete it felt like the universe had swallowed me whole. When I finally opened my eyes, the calendar on the wall said October 2025. 2 years had passed. 2 years of my life gone. My parents were there, aged beyond what 2 years should do to a person. Their faces a mixture of disbelief and joy. Noah, it was the first word I managed to croak out. The silence that followed told me everything. Sweetheart, my mother finally whispered, her hand trembling as she touched mine. He thought you were gone. We all did. Learning to walk again was easier than learning to live. Physical therapy gave me back my legs, but nothing could restore what I'd lost. Noah had moved to Chicago, started over, found someone new. Her name was Rebecca. I found her on his Instagram, pretty in that effortless way, with dark hair and kind eyes. They weren't married, but the caption under their photo at Navy Pier said, "Home is wherever I'm with you." The same words Noah once whispered to me. Funny how life works, isn't it? You spend years planning a future with someone, only to become a ghost in their past. You should focus on recovery, my best friend Mia insisted, sitting beside my hospital bed. Noah Morgan isn't the only man in the world, but he was the only one who knew how I took my coffee, the only one who could name all the constellations I'd point to on summer nights, the only one who held my heart when it broke over my father's cancer diagnosis, which thankfully went into remission before my accident. I need to see him, I told Mia 6 months after waking up. My voice was stronger now. My resolve too. Eliza, no. Mia's eyes widened. He's built a new life. You can't just... I'm not asking permission. I was already packing. I just need to know if anything remains of us. Chicago in spring was nothing like Boston. The wind whipped off Lake Michigan with a vengeance, as if trying to push me back to where I came from. I'd found Noah's address through mutual friends who thought I was crazy. Maybe I was. His apartment building stood tall in Lincoln Park, modern and sleek, so unlike the brownstone we'd dreamed of buying together. I stood across the street for an hour, watching people come and go, wondering if any of them knew the man I used to call mine. When I finally saw him, my heart forgot how to beat. Noah, still beautiful with his dark blonde hair and broad shoulders, still wearing those blue Converse sneakers I'd bought him for his birthday, but there was something different in his walk, a confidence that hadn't been there before, or maybe it was happiness. He was alone, carrying groceries, no Rebecca in sight. Before I could change my mind, I crossed the street. Noah, just his name. That's all I could manage. He turned, and the grocery bag slipped from his hands. Oranges rolled across the sidewalk as his face went pale. Eliza? His voice cracked on the second syllable. Is this? Am I hallucinating? I shook my head, tears blurring my vision. I woke up 8 months ago. 8 months? His whisper was harsh, wounded. Why didn't anyone tell me? I asked them not to. The truth was easier than I expected. I needed to heal first, to be myself again before I saw you. A woman called his name from the building entrance. Rebecca. She was even prettier in person, her confused gaze moving between us. I should go, I said quickly, backing away. I just wanted you to know I'm alive. That's all. I turned to leave, but his hand caught my wrist. The touch sent electricity through my veins. Don't. One word, desperate. Please. The truth. We met at a coffee shop the next day. Neutral ground. Rebecca knew who I was now. Noah had told her everything. She's understanding, he said, stirring his coffee endlessly. But this is complicated. I nodded. I didn't come to disrupt your life, Noah. I just couldn't move forward without seeing you, without knowing what. His eyes finally met mine. Those hazel eyes I dreamed of during my long sleep. If you still loved me. The words hung between us, honest and raw, even a little. Noah's hands trembled as he set down his spoon. I mourned you, Eliza. I stood at your memorial and scattered your ashes, or what I thought were your ashes, into the ocean. I said goodbye. I know. My voice was small. And then I tried to live, he continued, his voice breaking, because that's what you would have wanted, what you told me once, if anything ever happened to you. I remembered that conversation, a hypothetical discussion after watching a sad movie. How cruel that it had become our reality. Rebecca is wonderful, Noah said softly. She helped me find myself again. I owe her everything. The pain was physical, like my ribs were cracking open. I nodded, forcing a smile. I'm glad you found happiness. That's all I ever wanted for you. I stood to leave, dignity intact, even as my heart shattered anew. But Noah's next words froze me in place. But seeing you now, his voice was barely audible. It's like the world has tilted back into its proper axis, and I don't know what to do with that. I stayed in Chicago for a week. We met every day, just talking, filling in the gaps of lost time. Noah told me about his grief, how he'd moved to escape the memories. I told him about waking up disoriented, about learning to be human again. Rebecca kept her distance, which was both a kindness and a cruelty. It would have been easier if she were hateful. Instead, she was gracious, understanding even. I need time, Noah finally said on my last day. He sat by Lake Michigan, watching sailboats drift across the water. This isn't simple, Eliza. I know, and I did. Love rarely is. I returned to Boston with no promises, no declarations, just the knowledge that Noah knew I existed, that somewhere in his heart, a door had been left ajar. The letters, they started arriving a month later, handwritten letters from Noah, not love letters, but honest accounts of his days, his thoughts, his confusion. Rebecca and I are taking a break, he wrote in the third letter. She says I need to figure out what I want without feeling guilty. She's right. She usually is. I wrote back, careful not to pressure, not to hope too much. I told him about my new job at the Boston Public Library, about the apartment I'd found in Jamaica Plain, about rebuilding my life piece by piece. Summer turned to fall. The letters continued, sometimes arriving twice a week, sometimes with weeks between them, each one a thread connecting us across the miles. I dream about you, he confessed in October. Not as you were before, but as you are now, with the scar above your eyebrow and the slight limp in your walk. The real you, the survivor. I traced his words with my fingertip, allowing myself to feel something like hope. The call came on a snowy December evening, Noah's name lighting up my phone screen. We hadn't spoken directly in months, relying only on written words. I'm at South Station, he said without preamble. His voice was clear despite the background noise. I just got off the train from Chicago. My heart stuttered. Why? Because I've made my decision. A pause, and some things need to be said in person. The taxi ride to meet him was the longest 20 minutes of my life, longer even than waking from my coma, longer than the months of rehabilitation. I didn't know what to expect. Closure, perhaps. A gentle goodbye. But when I saw him standing there, snow collecting on his shoulders, his face broke into a smile that told me everything. Rebecca, I had to ask. We ended things properly, he said, stepping closer. She deserves someone whose heart isn't divided. Someone who isn't still in love with a ghost who turned out to be real. And what do you deserve? My voice trembled. Noah reached for my hand, his fingers intertwining with mine. A second chance, if you'll give me one. The rebuilding. Love after loss isn't simple. We didn't fall back into old patterns. Couldn't. We were different people now, shaped by grief and absence and growth. Noah moved back to Boston, but we lived separately, started dating again, learning each other anew. Sometimes it was awkward, sometimes painful. The shadow of what we'd lost hovered between us. Do you ever resent me? I asked one night, as we walked along the Freedom Trail. For coming back and complicating everything. Noah stopped walking, considered the question with the thoughtfulness that had always been his way. I resent the accident, the lost time. But never you, Eliza. Never you. We kissed then, in the glow of old street lamps. Not our first kiss since my return, but perhaps the most honest. A kiss without ghosts between us. A year later, we stood together on Cape Cod, the same beach where Noah had scattered what he thought were my ashes. The wind was fierce, the waves crashing against the shore. I used to come here to talk to you, he admitted, his arm around my waist, to tell you about my day, my life, to ask for your blessing to move forward. I leaned into him, grateful for his warmth against the chill. And did you feel like you got it? My blessing? Sometimes. He kissed my temple, but I always felt your presence. Maybe that was my subconscious refusing to let go. Or maybe what? I prompted when he fell silent. Maybe some part of me knew you were still out there. He turned to face me fully, that what remains of us was too strong to be broken, even by death. Noah knelt then, sand soaking through his jeans. In his hand a ring, not my original engagement ring, which had been lost in the accident. A new one, different, like us. Eliza Mitchell, he said, voice steady despite the emotion in his eyes. Will you marry me? Again, for the first time, however you want to see it. I looked at this man, who had loved me, lost me, and found his way back to me. At the life we were building from the ruins of what was. Yes, I whispered, then louder against the crash of waves. Yes, as he slipped the ring onto my finger, I understood finally what had survived. Not the plans we'd made, not the people we'd been, but something more essential. The recognition of a soul that complements your own. The willingness to begin again, however many times it takes. They say that some love stories are written in the stars, but the truest ones, They're written in second chances, in the courage to rebuild, in what remains when everything else is stripped away. My name is Eliza Mitchell. I died on a Tuesday, but that was just the beginning of our story. But we talk, we listen, we choose each other, day after day. 6 months after that night, on the bridge, Lucas meets me at O'Hare with nervous eyes. "What's wrong?" I ask as we walk to my car. He takes a deep breath. "I got offered a partnership with a major firm. They want to merge with my company." My heart sinks. "In Boston?" He shakes his head. "Here, in Chicago." I stop walking. "You're moving here." His eyes search mine. "If you want me to, if it's not too fast, if you're ready for that step." The airport noise fades away, just Lucas and me, standing at another crossroads. "Are you sure?" I ask. "Your whole life is in Boston." He takes my hands in his. "My whole life is wherever you are, Olivia. It always has been, even when we were apart." 2 months later, I help Lucas move into his new Chicago apartment, just 10 minutes from mine. Close, but still giving us space to grow together at our own pace. On a snowy evening in December, exactly 1 year after I received his letter, Lucas takes me back to Boston, back to our harbor, back to our bench. Snow falls softly around us. The harbor lights reflect on the dark water. His hand holds mine, warm despite the cold. "Do you remember what you wrote in your letter?" he asks suddenly. "The one you sent 6 months after I left?" I shake my head. "Not exactly, just that I was angry and heartbroken." Lucas reaches into his coat pocket, pulls out the worn paper, unfolds it carefully. "You wrote, if we were truly meant to be, if what we had was real, then someday we'll find our way back to each other. And if that day ever comes, I hope we're both brave enough to fight for what we once lost." Tears sting my eyes. I'd forgotten those words, written in a moment of desperate hope, before anger took root. Lucas tucks the letter away, then kneels before me in the snow. My breath catches. "Lucas, we found our way back," he says, voice trembling with emotion. "Against all odds, despite all my mistakes. And I promise you, Olivia Bennett, I will spend every day of the rest of my life fighting for what we once lost, for what we've rebuilt, for the future we deserve." He pulls out a small box. Inside, a simple diamond ring, not like the flashy one he gave me at 21. This one is elegant, timeless, perfect. "Will you marry me?" he asks, not because of who we were, but because of who we are now, who we've become, who we can be together. Snow collects on his dark hair, on his shoulders. The boy I loved has become this man kneeling before me, patient, strong, mine. "Yes," I whisper, then louder. "Yes." He slides the ring onto my finger, then pulls me into his arms. His lips find mine, sealing our new promise. Some loves are meant to endure. Some separations are just detours on the way back to where we belong. Lucas and I were given a second chance, not because we deserved it, but because we needed it, because sometimes the universe knows that two souls aren't finished with each other yet. 10 years apart taught us both what matters, what endures, what's worth fighting for. As we walk hand in hand through the snowy Boston night, I realize that the memory of his touch has been replaced by something far better. The reality of it, the promise of it, for all the days to come. My name is Olivia Bennett, soon to be Prescott, and this is not the end of our story. It's just the beginning of the chapter we were always meant to write, together, at last.